Welcome to the 2015-2016 Chairs for Teaching Excellence Awards Luncheon. Since 1994, the district has been very fortunate to have distinguished businesses and organizations sponsor the Academic Chairs for Teaching Excellence program that rewards and recognizes our district's top teaching talent. Since that time, the sponsors have invested more than $1 million in this unique awards program.
The woman to whom I'm about to introduce you is really special, even within the Fort Worth ISD and within this distinguished group of guests. She works at the World Languages Institute and has done a terrific job in demonstrating the importance of being flexible and adaptive for her students. In particular, as I was reading through her submission for consideration of this award, one thing jumped out at me, and that was that she was asked to talk about how she deals with the real world with the kids. And she acknowledges that her real world is very different than the real world that a lot of her kids face. And she works very hard to understand what their real world is so that she can adapt what she teaches and how she approaches those students, the strategy she takes to what they need and what they will likely respond to. That's very inspirational to me as a father of two daughters. I think I know what the real world is. They have a very different view of what the real world is and the way it should be. And so it really resonates with me. I'd like to introduce you now to Ms. Janet Cox, the recipient of the Secondary Teaching Award this year. Thank you, Janet. Congratulations.
I teach because I love to teach, but I teach the way I teach because I want to find ways to motivate all of my students to reach their highest potential. I strive to foster confidence in my students so they can be better than they thought they could be at something. I found my passion in teaching, and I want them to find their passions also. Reaching students has proved to be an interesting and exciting challenge in middle school. Every day, in every lesson plan, I look for alternative methods to motivate my students to do their very best, because their real world is different than my real world. I utilize many different strategies of instruction and practice and assessment to meet the needs and connect to the interests of these diverse young adults. I do believe that all students can learn. I do not believe that they all learn in the same ways or at the same pace. I attempt to provide students with opportunities to discover their own talents and possibilities so they'll continue to learn and grow long after I am not a part of their lives anymore. Thank you very much.
I was fortunate enough to go probably 3 months ago now to the school, the Young Men's Academy. Went to their assembly, and I got to see something that was very powerful. And here was a bunch of young men who had great respect, who understood that education was tough and they had to work hard to get there, that they all kind of decided, in my mind anyhow, that they were going to go beyond where a lot of people thought they could go. And this young man here went to that same area. He actually lived there, went to that school at one time, and decided to go back and be part of that. And what happened at the very end was amazing to me. I was walking out of the school, and the assembly had been finished, and 3 young men walked up to me. I'll never forget this. She talked about it at my store for probably several weeks. And the first one came to me with a great handshake, looked me in the eye, and said, "I will be the first person in my family to go to college." The second one came up to me and just thanked me for coming. Same thing, great handshake, looked me in the eye, great respect. And the third one, as I was getting in my car, said, "One day I'll be a doctor. Watch me." And that's what educators do. It's not just education. It's the ability to raise the bar above where a lot of young people can go. And it's really an honor for me to present the Sewell Excellence and Sewell Infinity Chair for Humanities for Isaac Tate III.
3 years ago, I could not imagine standing here. After 19 years of serving the Polytechnic community as a teacher, I embarked on a new journey at the Young Man Leadership Academy. Ironically, My new journey would take me to an area that I was very familiar with, my old neighborhood. You see, I am a product of proud parents, a loving church, the Stop 6 community, and the Dunbar Pyramid, having attended Sunrise Elementary, Dunbar Middle School, and Dunbar High School. In 2012, I assisted with the opening of an academy that was designed to empower young men, especially those young men in the Stop 6 community. I, along with 11 other educators, embraced the mission of developing young men into future leaders. Frederick Douglass said over 140 years ago, "It is easier to build strong children than repair broken men." The mission of Young Men Leadership Academy is to cultivate and empower all young men who enter our facility and prepare them for college acceptance upon completion of their high school education. The culture that we have established at the Young Men Leadership Academy is like no other. Our young men call each other brothers, not classmates, but brothers. They smile when the teacher referred to them as scholars, not just students, but scholars. It is a school-wide expectation to make personal connections with our young men through our compassion and our competence. I believe young people do not care how much you know as a teacher until they know how much you care. I would like to thank Mr. White for selecting me to be the inaugural social studies teacher, football coach, basketball coach, and the coordinator of our morning meetings. Maybe the most important task you assign me is the role of conducting our morning meetings with our young men. I look forward to telling our scholars, "Good morning, YMLA. It is a great day at the YMLA." Just like the classroom, I endeavor to incorporate innovative and motivative methods to accentuate the school spirit of camaraderie, classroom, community, and college. During my extensive teaching tenure, over 20 years, I have garnered numerous awards and acknowledgments, but I consider this to be the pinnacle of my professional career. To whom much is given, much is required. And I give you my word that my years of service will continue to be a positive impact on the young men at the Young Men Leadership Academy. Thank you.
You go into the school and you get to surprise the teacher. So this year we go to the Applied Learning Center and we go into the office and there's already people there. Her husband's there, her father is there with flowers, and her son is there. So just like Kirk said, it really is, it takes a family, it takes a village for teachers to be successful. And I know they were so proud of her. The next day was her birthday. So we all went in and I said, now if her son goes in first, they're gonna know, she's gonna know something's happening. And they said, oh no, he goes to school here. So they, it really was a family thing. So they were so proud of her and we are so proud of her. And now we will hear from Heather.
I'm a product of Fort Worth ISD, and I graduated from Pascal High School. My mom, my sister, my grandmother, 2 aunts, and an uncle all teach for Fort Worth. Needless to say, we are a family that believes in the power of education. I'm a huge proponent of public schools, and I get to see every day the great things that happen in our classrooms. The beauty of education to me is that it's not the zip code that determines the quality of a school. It's the heart of the teachers and the administrators and the parents and the students that make a quality school. I tell people all the time that I have the best job in the world. When they find out I teach teenagers and that I teach math, they always think I'm joking. The truth is, though, the kids keep you young at heart. My goal is to help kids see math in their everyday lives. I believe that if I create an environment where mistakes are allowed to happen, then kids feel relaxed and they'll start to take risk. And when they take risk, that's when the learning happens. I see their self-confidence grow. This makes even the most challenging day really worthwhile. Oftentimes as a teacher, I wonder if I really make a difference. Everyone's been faced with troubled students that continue to make poor decisions no matter how much you try to help. So many times we never see these students again after they leave us. So we don't see our long-term impact that we really do make. Recently, I was at a dinner with my family and 2 former students were working at the restaurant. Surprisingly, they were both happy to see me and they didn't run in the kitchen and hide. The boys were constantly in and out of the principal's office when I taught them, and I always assumed that my lecture just fell on deaf ears. But to my delight, they're both doing very well, and they're in their senior year of high school. My husband was talking with one of the young men about being a Marine after graduation, and the student looked at me and he said, "I can do anything if I work hard. You taught me that, Mrs. Ware." So of course, I almost started to cry right there in the middle of the patio at Joe T. Garcia's restaurant. But I'm fortunate to do what I love every single day. And I just want to end by saying thank you for recognizing all of us that know the power of education and how it can really change a life. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.
This year, Leanne had told me that there was a lot more applications than we had previously experienced. And she was talking about how difficult it is at times to make the decision when you're choosing the teacher. But as she said, with them, it's always that one automatically stands out. And this year was no different. So in this case, please help me welcome Donna Fleetwood.
I was inspired to be a teacher by my own third grade teacher, Elizabeth Barton. And she was a teacher who came to third grade every day in our classroom in a wheelchair because she had had the effects of polio as a child. But she displayed all the gifts of teaching that I strive for every day as a teacher. God has given me gifts of knowledge and perseverance, consistency, creativity, patience and empathy and kindness. And as I look around this beautiful room today, I think of one of my students that I found out through a conference that was translated into Swahili the other day, and she dines in the evening every night with 18 people in one apartment. So we do serve children every day that we just want to make sure that we serve their unique needs and that we encourage them to claim successful, bright futures. The most important goal of a primary reading teacher is to help students acquire the skills and knowledge they need to read fluently and to comprehend what they read. I've always been taught that you learn to read until third grade, and from third grade on, you read to learn. I teach reading in a whole group, targeted small groups, and in centers. But my favorite part of each day is sharing a beloved children's book with my students to model fluency, but most of all, to share a love of literature. My desire is that the love of reading will travel with these young students I teach for the rest of their lives. But most importantly, I want my students to remember me as a person who truly cared about them and who believed in their ability to achieve all their goals. I hope this time today has stirred a memory of a favorite teacher that inspired you. Thank you.
Today, I have the honor of presenting to two wonderful teachers that have really personified excellence in teaching in math and also in science. We appreciate and value teachers as well that can motivate future scientists and engineers. Through initiatives like Engineers in the Classroom, we are partnering with local Fort Worth schools by going to classrooms to inspire students in areas of science, technology, and math. And to no further ado, I wanted to talk about first our Lockheed Martin Chair for Teaching Excellence in Elementary Math, Letitia Tate. I wanted to take one of her quotes that really I thought was really inspirational. She said that educators with the most success have an innate love, self-motivation, and desire to foster learning for all students regardless of surrounding factors that influence the job of the educator. One must never enter the education field lightly because of the impact on our children and our nation is priceless. Wonderful words. Letitia?
Thank you all for seeing the it in me. What is the it? That is not the X Factor or any other talent competition. This is education, right? For me, the it is a natural-born, God-given ability to pull out the best, the passion, the excitement from students as they learn. Education is more than a job, a career, or work. It is my ministry. When I think about synonyms for the word work, yes, math teachers, we do use synonyms too. The word work, the synonyms for the word work, you hear words like job, career, livelihood, practice, or vocation. Those are the words that come up. But when I looked up the words or synonyms for ministry, my thesaurus gave me words such as instrument, influence, inspiration, reason, activator, energizer, and mover. I strive to be that for my students, scholars, each day. The it is more than a great lesson plan or activity in the classroom. As I wake up each morning to serve as an educator, I keep one of my favorite scriptures in my heart, Colossians 3:23. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men. If I am to make an impact each day on our scholars' lives, I must continue to use my influence, my motivation, and heart to activate and influence their passion for learning and encourage them to move beyond their circumstances to ignite the it in them. I will do it heartily and with the instruments that God has given me and endowed me with. Again, I am thankful, I am grateful to the committee for choosing me for this award. And more than that, I am grateful again to God for the it that he put in me, that I may continue to strive to be that light every day. May God bless everyone here, you all, as we continue on our different journeys, bestowing the ministry that God has blessed us to share. Thank you.
So for the Lockheed Martin Chair for Teaching Excellence in Elementary Science, we celebrate and we award Christina Armenta. I'll give a brief story about myself. My fifth grade science teacher changed my trajectory in life and really motivated me to be an engineer. And so I am an example of wonderful science teachers changing the lives of elementary school students. I also want to use one of your quotes as well. Your quote is, teachers must invest deeply into a child's real life, not just the surface, and understand the underlying reasons of why struggles may exist. Because sometimes all it takes is a little extra care. Extra care was given to me that changed my life, and we celebrate you today. Thank you.
I have incredible students, y'all. They teach me so much about life. I have a student who, no matter what, he comes to school in the best mood every single day. He always has a huge smile on his face, and I have yet to see him in a bad mood, which is, as a fifth grade teacher, you tend to see a lot of that. I told him the other day, you know what I love about you? How positive you are. I admire that about you. Don't ever change it. It's a gift. As a teacher, I try to remember to be like him every day. I got into teaching because ever since I was a little girl, I loved to help people. I knew my path was to serve the community in some way. Growing up, I was always helping people and animals, picking up every stray animal that I saw along the way. It's what fed my soul. I used to pull my little brother up to my 99-cent chalkboard, and I would teach him everything I learned in school that day. Some days he left crying because I was a bit mean, and I probably wasn't very good as a 10-year-old teacher. But of course, I did get better. I feel like as a person, my life is worthwhile when I'm making a difference. Again, it's what feeds my soul. When I'm with my students, I can literally see it in their eyes when I'm making that difference. It's that aha moment. I love it. I try to be that person who, for a few hours, is the highlight of my students' day. I try to spark curiosity, make them think, and ultimately help them expand their minds. I am not that teacher who opens up a book, writes an assignment on the board, and kicks back at her desk. When people say to me, oh, you're a teacher, that must be pretty easy, huh? You just put the assignment on the board, pass out the book, sit at your desk, and you get to go home at 3. No, that's not how it works, and that's not what we do. We are not those teachers. So what kind of teacher am I? Well, I'm an entertainer, I'm an actress, a dancer, a singer, a counselor, a mother, a mentor, and of course, a teacher. And as for leaving at 3, no, I'm also a coach for cheerleading and softball. I definitely don't leave at 3 after school. And if anything else, I'm tutoring or planning some sort of science experiment in the science lab. If you were to walk into my classroom, we would probably have our hands busy in some sort of experiment. And I'm really lucky if I get to sit down at lunch to eat for like 10 minutes. With me, my students are explorers, innovators, scientists, mathematicians, and literacy aficionados. But most importantly, my students are free. My classroom is their safe haven. It's their escape from the hard knocks of life, the arguing parents at home, the annoying siblings, or in worse cases, the abusive family members, or the gunfire they might hear at night in their neighborhood. In those precious hours with me, my students escape all of that, and they are free to explore their minds and how beautiful our universe is. I think all children should be given this opportunity, and I hope that as long as I live and breathe, I can continue to do my part in this world to serve these magical little humans. My life as a teacher ultimately is about service to them, service to God, to my family, and to my community. Thank you so much, everyone, for the opportunity to be here.
Let me just say that when Isabel Lopez taught us a lesson, we were so inspired, and that's why we are just thrilled to give you this award. Thank you, Isabel.
But this award really belongs to the wonderful students I teach at South Highmount Elementary. It's their smiling faces, kind words, and little words of wisdom. For example, keep breathing when you're up there on stage. Don't forget your favorite crayon, and don't eat the crayons. It's their little wisdoms that inspire me to be an art teacher. Yes, there have been days I wonder, why am I still doing this? Why am I still teaching? Then I'm reminded it's not for the money, oh no. It's not for the fame, oh no. And it's not for the recognition, nope. It's for the excitement seen in my students' faces at the moment they learn something new. It's the moment their faces light up with inspiration and joy. It's the moment when one of my autistic students is able to make and show me they made the color green, or they made the color purple, or orange for a little pumpkin, or like one of them likes to say, I made a little caterpillar. These are the moments that inspire me as an artist and as a teacher to continue teaching. So I would like to accept this award on behalf of my students who have made this journey so worthwhile and who have left me with so many priceless memories and continue to inspire me every day. Thank you to the Angela D. Paulus Foundation for this prestigious award. This honor means so much to me. It confirms that as an artist and a teacher, I am in the right career. I belong here doing what I am doing, and that I am making a difference in my students' lives every day.
And I want to tell you about Cindy Berlin. She does a third grade operetta writing festival each year in which groups of students write an original story, compose and perform their own operettas before an audience and a panel of judges, third grade. Yeah. Cindy believes that it's not only important to educate young kids, but what she's doing is educating the audiences, the future audiences. And perhaps some of us need a little more education in that. We need to go more, but she is making sure they understand music and all that it comes with it. So they will go, and they'll be great patrons. I also wanted to read her quote. She said, "Every human in some form is a music maker, or so we think." Connie also mentioned that in her class, which I think is very important today because we're all very involved in stem cell and all that, but she incorporates literacy, math, science, and social studies into her daily routines to support this music education, which I think is so important. Also, in her spare time, she has a 4-year-old son and twin girls, Lily and Grace. Her son is Thomas. So please, please welcome me in honoring Cindy Berlin for her dedication to the field of music education and to her students at this year's Baird H. Friedman Award in Performing Arts. Cindy Berlin.
Like most of you, I know that my profession is not just a job. It is how God has called me to make this world a better place. No, I'm not finding a cure for cancer or drafting peace treaties, but maybe I'm teaching the child who will. And while he or she probably won't use music in the formula or the draft, it just might be the love of life and fellow man and the connection with the beauty in this world learned in my class that motivates him or her to such ambitious goals. Or the creativity and the confidence that grew under my watch that carries them down the right path. In an elementary music class, I don't see my students every day or all day, but I do see them week after week and year after year, from the time they're 5 until they're about 11. Little ones go through a lot in that span of time. Think about all the things they go through. It is an honor to be their constant as they change homeroom teachers, friends, likes, styles, and sometimes even family circumstances. I also get to be their escape from the strains of standardized tests, social pressures, and other stresses. Not only do I get to see many of my students over a large span of time, but I get to see them in an environment where they get to play, to create, and to connect. And some of them will discover and share a piece of themselves that will emerge nowhere else. And I am honored to get to share in this with them. I'm blessed to live and work in an environment that is encouraging, creative, and fun and supportive. Every time I take an idea to my principal or assistant principal, they say, "Yes, let's do it, and how can we help?" When I go to my art teacher with another crazy idea, I get the same response. "Yes, how can I help?" I get the same response time and time again from other colleagues, my school PTA, the Fort Worth ISD Music Department, my family, and my friends. I am so blessed. Yes, and how can I help, they say. This is how our third graders write their own operettas and how our fifth graders research and write their own Veterans Day programs. This is an environment where ideas grow and success lives. So now when a colleague comes to me, I try to give them the same answer that's been given to me time and time again. Yes, and how can I help? And I'm learning to do the same thing with my students. I've realized that if I'm going to reach them in a way that makes them want to change the world, I have to give them the same courtesy I want. I have to hear them out. I have to honor their ideas. I have to say, yes, and how can I help? I have to model what I want them to believe, that we have to give each other room to create, and we have to support and honor one another. This phrase builds relationships, communities, teams, friendships, and even families. It is how great things can happen, and it is how one elementary music teacher can make a difference. One of my heroes, folk singer Pete Seeger, said that he didn't believe the world would change because one person did something great. He believed it would change because lots of people would do small things, little changes together. Well, to all of you who say yes and how can I help, thank you. And please keep saying it. This phrase is how we're going to make things better for our students and how they're going to make the world a better place.
We were blown away with him this year. I always get up here and talk about how they made us work out and we were sweating by the end of our interviews. We wouldn't have minded with him. He was so magnetic and exciting and energetic. He told us this story. We were talking about just the struggles or the obstacles you face. And he said, a lot of people look at the end of the day and the last class is kind of a tough time, but not for him because that was when he had his kindergartners. And here come this group of excited, rowdy, little bitty kids that just come running into his gym and ready to go. And he says, how can you possibly end your day badly when you've got these kids that are that excited to be there? And he's just such an amazing teacher. We got to go to his school to present the award, and the support that his school has for him is amazing. So I'd like to present Mr. Eric King.
I have a commute every day like a lot of us do. I drive 30 minutes to my school, 35 minutes to my school, and so I have a lot of time. I crank up the music. I'll listen to the problems with the Dallas Cowboys on Sports Talk Radio. But what I've done recently is I've started to have more of a sociological experiment on my way to work. And I invite everybody to do the same thing. If you have any kind of commute, look in the cars next to you as they pass you and as you pass them. Most of us are going to work. I live out west in the burbs, and people live in the burbs, and they drive to the big city, this wonderful city that we have. You should see the dread and the fear on people's faces. So when I see this on these people's faces as they're driving to work, I think two things. And the first thing I think is, okay, there's no way that person's a PE teacher. The button-up shirt and tie usually give it away. But also, there's no way you can have that fear and dread, the fear of the monotony of the next 8 hours if you're a PE teacher. You're about to get to school with 55 first graders coming into the gym with smiles this big on their faces. You're not going to last very long if you have that dread and fear heading into work. The second thing that comes over me is a whole lot of thankfulness. Thankfulness that I don't have that fear of going to work. I don't have the monotony of the next 8 hours. Monotony and PE class don't go together. I'm thankful for the 400 students I have that keep me on my toes every day. I'm thankful for the 400 students that motivate me to drive the 35 minutes from Weatherford into Fort Worth. I'm thankful for my kindergartners, who Mr. Fickus mentioned earlier, with the smiles that go ear to ear, just as I am thankful for my fifth graders, who after 6 years are almost starting to get my sarcasm. I drive. These thoughts come over me, and I think to myself, man, I'm so lucky. How in the world could I not drive 35 minutes to work with a smile on my face?
I felt like Jamie's favorite saying really held true for her position and also for the school that she's at, which is Polytech. I don't care where you come from, just where you are going, how you plan to get there, and what role will I play in helping you achieve that. So we're excited to present this award to Jamie, and I give her the very best in continuing to educate our future employees for all of the companies here in the Fort Worth area.
Why do I teach? To make a difference in a child's life daily. Okay. I'd like to share one of the stories from a student I got this past summer. Haven't taught this child, haven't seen him in 6 years. They send me a message. Thank you for teaching me and my brother. It gave me the little boost I needed in high school to learn about proper workplace attitude, such as deadlines and right or wrong, as well as getting on the right track to pursue my career as becoming an aircraft maintenance technician. I'm currently studying to get my FAA A&P certification. Lockheed, you probably know what that is. Yes. I can honestly say your class showed me all the fundamentals of engineering and technology-based skills. I've got one more year to go, and I'll be applying with the industry and start making a living doing what I love, fixing stuff. Also, my older brother Jose you taught, he took your class and has now joined the Air Force. Okay, and after graduation, he is now working on B-2 bombers and is ranked an E-5. Thank you for putting us both in the right direction. Okay. Yep. Another student, one of the most touching situations, I had a special ed student who had never read a book in his life, 10th grade year, and we're in his ARD meeting with the teacher and assistant principal. And during this meeting, the assistant principal said, I think you need to read the book, Letters to a Young Brother. Okay, I guess I better go to Barnes & Noble's tonight. So I purchased 2 copies of this book because I thought if I read it along with him, he would read it and I'd call it our secret book club. And not only did he read, I said, let's set a goal, a chapter a night. And he came in the next day and he was like, can we read more than one chapter? Yes, I don't know if it'll fit in my schedule, but go ahead, I'll try to keep up with you. Okay, so not only did he read the book, he wanted to keep reading. So I kept buying him books. And people were like, but you're a technology teacher, not a reading or English teacher. No, I'm anything they need to learn teacher. The next school year, when he wasn't in my class, he dropped by with a note. And I'm going to read part of the note he left. Hey, Miss Cox, I know you thought I forgot about you. You're like a mama. You kept everybody in line. Also, you made sure we had fun. Miss, being your student and the books, I really need more. If you can get some more, we could read them together and tell each other about the parts we liked. These messages from former students confirm that what I do does make a difference. It is my tender, something worth a lot more than money and material items.
Erin just kind of stole our hearts right off the bat in the interview process, and it was pretty much guaranteed once she started talking and going through our daily classroom exercise that we get to do. So what we saw was a lot of what we heard from our principal and some of her letters is that just the hardworking self-starter and amongst our peers, she's kind of the go-to person when they need something. And we saw that in her presentation. We saw it in her writing, and XTO and ExxonMobil are proud to sponsor this award and congratulate you for this year's winner of the early childhood. So.
As a teacher, it's my job to stand in front of people and talk, and it's something I can do pretty well. Just ask all of my former teachers how good I was at talking in class. It's simple for me to read a book to children, to discuss a child's progress with a parent, or to present a new curriculum to other teachers. What is not as simple for me is to stand in front of a group of people and talk about myself and my own accomplishments. Because I know there are so many teachers out there doing great work each and every day, it's hard for me to find myself singled out for praise. But it also makes me realize that some of these great teachers have helped me become the person and the professional I am today, and for that I am grateful. It is an honor to be able to represent the best Fort Worth ISD has to offer our youngest students. To give you an idea of just how very young my students are, I'll tell you about the day I was given the award at my school. I received balloons as part of the celebration, and because of this, they asked if it was my birthday. I explained what had happened, that I won an award for being a good teacher, and they asked again, "So it's your birthday?" As you can see, my students are still very literal in their thinking. Because of this, I work hard to make sure they always have a visual to see what I'm teaching them. If we're studying construction, I bring in tools for them. When we discuss weather changes in the winter, I make sure to take advantage of that one day that it snows and take them outside to discuss how it looks, how it feels, sounds, smells, or even tastes for those who are interested. I'm always proud when former students are excited to see me years later because it means I accomplished my goal of making a difference in their lives. I'm so happy and thankful to win this award that reflects what I do for my students each and every day. Thank you so much.
Through the interview process and my visit to Joe Kelly, I can tell you that Shelley wears many hats, including but not limited to teacher, chef, team leader, walking buddy, physical therapist, nurse, technology guru, singer, and caregiver. When the students walked down the hall on their walker or stood up for Shelley with a little bit of help, their smiles told how much they love and trust their teacher. Shelley, congratulations from Kroger and the committee, and thank you, Betty and Jason, for being here and for being selected for this award.
The students I work with are so special to me. At Joe Kelly, we do so much for them that you can't help but form a special bond with each one of them. I remember one of my students who, when he came to Joe Kelly, he didn't respond to much of anything. His teacher and therapist worked with him and taught him to communicate using pictures. They also got him equipment to position him. They taught him so many things. But when we talked to his grandmother, she said, with tears in her eyes, that of all the things that Joe Kelly taught him, the most important thing to her was that they taught him to smile. Helping the students is important, but helping their families and doing what I can do to make their lives easier is important to me as well. I feel very blessed to have found a job that I love. I enjoy going to work every day. I've always thought that a bad day at Joe Kelly is better than a great day working anywhere else. How many people can say that about their jobs? This is my 27th year teaching at Joe Kelly, and I can't imagine teaching anywhere else. I believe teaching the students at Joe Kelly is where I was meant to be. Thank you.
I had the opportunity to get to know Miss Smith, visit with her as many of you others on the committee did, and I can tell you one thing, and that is she has an uncanny ability to connect to people, and especially kids. And so a little bit about the day when we went to surprise Miss Smith. We walked in her classroom to surprise her with the announcement that she had received this honor, and it wasn't her reaction that surprised me. though she was very humble and excited that she had received the honor, it was her students. So as I stood back and kind of watched their reaction, and through the whole process, it was extremely evident that those kids loved and respected their teacher. If you haven't had a chance to get to meet Ms. Smith, I encourage you to do so. She is an amazing lady, and I am blessed to have gotten to meet her. Ms. Smith.
I'm a middle school teacher, and you may be thinking I must be crazy. And sometimes I would agree. But almost 25 years ago, I had a spiritual calling to work with young people. And what a blessing it has been to go back to school, finish my degree, and begin to work with the most wonderful students in the district at J.P. Elder Middle School, including Miss Jordan Stinnett, who is here today. What a joy it is to see my former students, hear their stories, and now teach their children. What is teaching? Writing lesson plans, teaching classes, making a commitment to our future, grading papers, attending meetings, making phone calls. But teaching is also the tears when you look at data and feel that you have not made a difference. The tears of exhaustion. The tears when you attend a funeral of a student who has died much too soon. So why teach? To get to see those light bulb moments, seeing attitudes change, showing students there is a big world outside of Fort Worth, Texas, sharing in celebrations and accomplishments, return visits and smiles when those former students realize you still remember them. But most importantly, being told by one of those students that you truly made a difference. Thank you.
And it's my privilege and honor to be here today recognizing 13 models for exemplary teaching and teacher leadership in our classrooms. It's often said that education is a three-legged stool with curriculum, with instruction, and with assessment. Assessment, you've seen in the news all too often, the obsession that we have with assessment. And I tell people, if you get healthy by taking your temperature, what we're doing in education would make sense. The other idea in terms of curriculum is that there's some sort of silver bullet program that's going to save our kids. It's not. It's the leg of the stool that is instruction, and instruction is people. And you heard these wonderful teachers today. They didn't talk about the science of teaching. They talked about the art of teaching. They talked about connecting with kids. They talked about building relationships. They looked at our students as assets to be invested in, not problems to be solved. It is, for me, a great privilege to work alongside these teachers and consider them my colleagues, as it is an honor to serve our Board of Trustees who have adopted the right mission for our 87,000 students to prepare every student for success in college, career, and community leadership. And that starts in preschool and continues on through the early years, through the middle years, through high school. Fort Worth is, I'm blessed to be here. It's a great, great place. The city of Fort Worth is different than other cities. I've just formally joined our district a month ago, and the way that this community has welcomed me, welcomed my daughter, put their arms around us, and Fort Worth is different than other major cities, and it's our responsibility to build an organization, to build a school district that is different from other large urban systems. Highly qualified teachers are the most important factor in improving student achievement for our students, for any organization. The second most important factor is high quality leadership, and we have principals here who are supporting these teachers, and we have several of these teachers who I'm going to put a principal application in their hand on the way out the door. We have leadership capacity here throughout. So the academic chairs for Teaching Excellence program would not be possible without this generous community that we have here in Fort Worth. And our partners who underwrite these awards, let's give them a round of applause. Then this will conclude our program. Thank you very much for supporting our 87,000 students in the Fort Worth ISD. Thank you.